The scent of roasted turkey and cinnamon pies lingered in the air as laughter echoed through Margaret's living room. Plates clattered, children darted under the long oak table, and glasses chimed with forced toasts. I sat quietly, smoothing the corner of my red napkin, when Margaret's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. She thinks she runs Christmas. The room froze. Forks hovered midair. My cheeks flushed as eyes turned toward me. Hannah, the daughter-in-law who never seemed good enough. Margaret smirked, leaning back in her chair, her diamond bracelet catching the candlelight. You've turned my son's holiday into your little show. Pathetic. The insult rang sharper than the silver bells on the mantel. I swallowed hard, my pulse pounding in my ears. Around me, silence pressed heavy. Would I break in humiliation, or let her choke on the truth I had yet to reveal? Long before I ever sat at Margaret's table, I was just Hannah from a small town, raised by a father who fixed broken tractors and a mother who baked pies for church fundraisers. We didn't have money, but we had respect, the kind that comes from honest work and keeping your word. When I first met Charles, Margaret's son, it wasn't at some grand party. It was at a little diner off Route 12, where I worked nights pouring coffee for truckers and farmers. He smiled at me like I was worth something more than tips in a jar. But Margaret never saw me that way. From the start, she looked down on me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Coffee girl? That's all, she'd whisper to her friends over the years. No matter how much love Charles and I built, Margaret dismissed me. When I brought homemade gifts, she called them cheap. When I decorated Christmas with care, she mocked it as childish. Every effort I made was met with a roll of her eyes. Still, I stayed silent, letting her words settle like dust on furniture, heavy, irritating, but never permanent. Because deep down, I was carrying something she could never imagine. And now, back at this Christmas table, her insults piled higher, her smirk bolder. She thought she owned this holiday, this family, this room, but soon, she would learn. Hannah was not the girl she thought she could crush. Margaret's fork clinked loudly against her crystal plate, a deliberate sound meant to draw every ear. She leaned forward, eyes glinting, and raised her voice so even the children paused mid-giggle. Look at her, she said, gesturing toward me with a sharp flick of her hand. Parading around like she matters. Without Charles, she's nothing. Just a guest in my home. A ripple of whispers spread through the room. I could feel them studying me, waiting for me to shrink. My palms tightened in my lap, but I lifted my chin, meeting Margaret's gaze without a word. The silence made her restless. She pressed harder. This Christmas used to mean tradition, dignity, respect. Now it's paper decorations and store-bought pies. You've turned it into a circus. Her laugh was short, cruel, designed to sting. For a moment, I let her words hang heavy. My heartbeat slowed, my breath steady. I didn't fight back, not yet. Instead, I let the stillness work. The kind of quiet that unsettles bullies who expect tears. I saw Charles's brother shift uncomfortably, Susan drop her spoon, Harold's brows knit together. The room itself felt tense, like a violin string pulled too tight. Margaret mistook that silence as victory. She smirked, thinking she had buried me once again, but as I smoothed my napkin and glanced at the envelope waiting in my purse, a calm smile tugged at my lips, because Margaret didn't know. Tonight's Christmas dinner was about to become her stage of humiliation. The room had grown so still that even the fireplace crackle felt loud. I reached slowly into my purse, the leather strap cool against my palm, and pulled out a thick ivory envelope. All eyes followed the movement. Margaret leaned back, smug and confident, as if nothing inside could ever touch her throne. I stood, the chair legs scraping against the polished wood floor. My voice was calm, steady. Margaret, you've mocked my place in this family for years. But maybe it's time everyone sees the truth. I unfolded the papers with deliberate care. Gasps echoed before I even spoke. The bold seal at the top was unmistakable. These are the official orders from the United States Air Force, I said clearly, my eyes never leaving hers. I've served this country with honor for over 2 decades. Last month, I was promoted to lieutenant colonel. And this holiday, I was awarded command over a new base. The room fell silent, mouths open, forks dropped onto plates. Susan covered her lips. Charles's brother whispered, Lieutenant Colonel, while Harold muttered, My God. Margaret's face drained of color. Her smirk collapsed, her hand frozen midair as if she had been struck. For the first time, her eyes darted away, searching for an escape that wasn't there. I let the silence stretch, letting the weight of respect fill the room. Neighbors who once pitied me now looked at me with awe, and Margaret, the woman who thought she owned Christmas, sat pale and speechless, her pride shattered under the truth she never saw coming. Margaret's diamond bracelet no longer sparkled. Her trembling hand had lowered to her lap, the weight of silence pressing her down. For once, she had no clever insult, no sharp laugh, no victory to claim. Around the table, the shift was unmistakable. Harold raised his glass slowly. To Hannah, he said, his voice steady with respect. One by one, others followed, lifting their cups, their eyes turning to me with pride instead of pity. I smiled faintly, acknowledging their gesture, then set the envelope down on the table where everyone could see. Respect is earned, I said softly, my voice carrying farther than I expected, not demanded. I gathered my coat from the back of my chair. The pine garland above the doorway brushed against my shoulder as I walked past, the scent of evergreen clinging like a reminder of home. Behind me, Margaret sat rigid, her face pale, her empire of arrogance crumbling in front of the very family she tried to control. I didn't need to raise my voice or gloat. Dignity was my answer. Truth was my revenge, and that Christmas night ended with one lesson carved deep into every heart at that table: pride falls. Respect stands.